Hey, how are you, sir?
Grand. I'm now joined on the line by Brian Austin Green to discuss the iconic TV comedy series Anger Management. And Brian, if I can start off by asking you what I asked all the rest of the cast members so far, how did the opportunity arise for you to be cast in Anger Management?
I had worked with Bruce Helford before, and I think it was the second episode. I did just a guest part. I worked with Charlie in the scene, and then I got a call from Bruce, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to do 40 more?" I was like, 40 more? Of course. So I came back, and they had sort of retooled the show and made it what it was for the second half, and I did 40 something episodes. It was awesome.
Yeah, and I suppose, Brian, your character there, Sean, we see him is introduced on our screens as he regards his relationship with Charlie's ex-wife Jordan, the mother of their daughter Sam, and there's instantly a bit of friction there between Charlie and Sean. Charlie towards Sean, because Charlie maybe sees an awful lot of himself in Sean, and maybe all the sort of bad young habits that Charlie had in relation to his treatment of Jennifer. He sees that in Sean early on, and there's an awful lot of friction. I remember the episode where it said that where you took Sam on a driving lesson starting off, and Charlie didn't like that to begin with, and the idea then that he thought that you were sort of cunning or sleazy or after Jordan's money and stuff like that. So you sort of come across in the very first few episodes as the bad guy that's upsetting the Goodson home.
Right, yeah. So I think naturally there's just friction with, the old man and the new man and the new person in your son or daughter's life. And it made sense that, that Charlie's character just didn't like the guy. But the thing that Sean was and is he's really confident. He feels like he's really good at what he does, and he really feels like he's a good guy. And so, he may make judgment calls that people don't like, and he might do things that people don't like, but he does them with the best of intentions. He really truly believes in what he's saying and doing.
Yeah, and you can sort of get that sort of swagger off that Sean. He really is self-assured in himself in relation to his confidence. He feels that any lady he approaches, that he can get the idea that no one's off the radar, and the idea that he's sort of a player, a sort of sense that he wants to be settled, but at the same time he doesn't want to have restrictions put on him either.
If you think like him for a second, James, the guy was a prostitute, a male prostitute, and a dancer, and really felt like he was the best at both. He was amazing in bed, and he was an amazing dancer, and he really honestly believed it. So you have to respect someone that truly believes in themselves, whether you think something's right or silly, or I look at it and I think, Jesus, male prostitute, what a horrible job. But for him, he was like, it's something that I'm good at. And so, I'm going to be, Sean's thing was, I'm going to be the best that I can be at everything that I do. And there's Charlie, as much as he didn't like Sean being around his daughter and his ex-wife, obviously, there's something that you can learn from having someone as strong around as Sean was. You can really, it helps you grow, and it helps you look at yourself in different ways and think, Jesus, maybe there's something that I'm not 100% committing to or fully settled into that I should be. And I think that's what Sean was for Charlie. I think Sean was that, Charlie felt bad about some of the decisions that he made and who he was, and then you have Sean around, and shit, you feel great about the decisions you've made and like who you are as a person, because this guy's a mess.
And I suppose tensions between Sean and Charlie came to a head when Sean joined Charlie's anger management group, and for the minute Sean stood in to sit in the anger management group, it was a sort of that wasn't for him sort of idea, and why am I here, and this sort of I'm going to take the mix sort of idea, and it really sort of bubbled sort of tensions. But then all of a sudden then Lacey's eye caught Sean, and in relation to that Charlie was beginning to notice bit by bit that Lacey's intentions were, Lacey was more after Sean than what Sean was after Lacey, and it sort of, things came to a head then, and it meant Sean departed our screens for a while before he came back in a blaze of glory once more.
Yeah. So, first I want to say, James, that you incredibly know way more stuff about anger management than I remember, because it was shot so fast. Doing as many episodes as we did in such a short period of time, and having never watched, because I don't watch my stuff, or I don't watch TV. It's really impressive. It's impressive how much you know about the show and how committed you are to it.
Yeah.
So, I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, no problem, Brian. It's all about the research. You can only be as good as your research team. But
yeah, no, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And your research team apparently is top notch. So good on you.
But Brian, in relation to the working week now in anger management, you came in and you said you started appearing a minor role at the start, and started to build up. And in relation to that, how did you find as the seasons build up and you got into you're starting to make the 30th episode, and from the 30th episode on, your character was an ever present in the show. How did you react to that? I know you had history in Beverly Hills 90201 of maybe rolling out an episode every week or shooting and that sort of a scene, but this was a new sort of project where you're rolling out 2 episodes every week. How was that demanding?
I think this was new for everyone. I think the writers were a bit in shock. I mean, it's a muscle. It's something that you just get better at doing it, but at first it's hard. It's not an easy accomplishment. It's not for Charlie especially. I used to say all the time, it was so much dialogue for him to learn. And it was amazing that not only he could learn that stuff, but he could like really commit to doing it, and it was amazing. He had so much more than anybody else. I was really lucky. They would write really good stuff for me. And it would be a couple scenes in an episode, so it was, I complained, of course, because that's just human nature. People complain. So I complained. It was like, God, it's really hard, whatever. And then I would run lines with Charlie, and I'd feel like an asshole because, he was working. He was not saying that I wasn't working for the money, but he was really working for his money. Like Charlie was 100% there, 100% of the time, all day long. If Charlie had like a morning off and he would get into work at 11, it was a miracle.
Yeah, and I suppose
on average, like a normal day, he would be there all day, and he'd be in his trailer, and he'd be having meetings with Bruce and meetings with with the writers and meetings with FX, and he'd be talking about where the show's going and what he was involved in all of that, and I wasn't. I'd love to take credit for it because it's easy to do, but he did it all. I showed up. I would show up for 3 hours sometimes in the afternoon, and work, and then it was a great job. It was nice to get 2 paychecks a week. So it was a pretty great job, and it was pretty impressive to do that number of shows in such a short period of time.
Yeah. And I suppose, Brian, your on-screen relationship, we know in the second season, Laura Bell Bundy comes into the scene playing Dr. Jordan Dimby, and you're sort of from there on, after one or two episodes, you're sort of paired off together for the remainder of the series, and you had such good chemistry, yourself and Laura Bell. You were sort of an old sort of married couple in many ways. Even though you weren't married in relation, you could see the sort of the relationship that even was there between you on set. It felt like a couple that were in their 70s squabbling over bits and pieces.
Right, thank you. Laura was awesome. Laura was like game to do anything, and she didn't care about making fun of herself or, I think the people that are really good at what they do are really self-deprecating. And she would make fun of herself and do, honestly, I think anything. And at the same time, we're very different. Like, we work in very different ways. She loves to run lines, and I don't. And so we would butt heads a little bit on like our process, but at the point when we got on set, it was I loved her. She would really be there and listen, and she would try things, and she wasn't afraid, and we just had so much fun. And Charlie was. People have said it before, but Charlie can really make anything work. Like, Charlie is he's really smart and really committed to lines and to comedy and beats and the little nuances of what we do and what works and what doesn't. And he works really hard. He doesn't just, like some people you would assume, especially making the kind of money that he was making, would just phone it in. And he didn't. He never phoned it in. He never showed up and just kind of wandered through the day and wanted to get it done. He was like, everything was about the scene that we were in and doing it the best it can be. And, he was great with background actors and the crew, and he was like it was really a team effort for him. Yeah. And he believed that. And that was the feeling on set. Like, we were all there for the same reason. Yeah. We were all there to make the best show that we could make under ridiculous, almost impossible conditions.
Yeah, and I suppose, Brian, I know you said to your memory of certain episodes in relation to anger management that you haven't seen much of the shows and you cast so many in a short period of time. But there's one episode, I don't know if you remember this, but it sticks out to me in relation to the Sean-Charlie relationship, and that is when Patrick's friend comes in from town, this sort of a girl, and Charlie and Sean instantly are admired her and they begin sort of fighting over her, but all of a sudden she has an interest in both, and Charlie and Sean are then sort of cute.
One where Sean was at the window, and he was like, don't do it, and I remember that.
Yeah. That was probably the one of the most of the memoriotic scenes where she said, all right, you can have each other. And they didn't sort of realise at the time what the girl was sort of thinking in her own mind. But it just showed the levels that Charlie and Sean would go to to outgun or outmaneuver one each other.
Yeah, it was, they had a funny relationship. I mean, you had two guys that were very much the alpha males. Around each other all the time. And so it's interesting to watch that reaction. That's it. You get used to on television seeing one guy that's an alpha male and one that's not, and you have sort of the odd couple of like one guy that's very rough and tumble in sports, and then one guy who's very artistic, and and all of a sudden you had two guys that were really similar, that were like both really into girls, really into being single, really into showing off and who was cooler than who, but they loved each other. But yeah, they butt heads on a regular basis. Yeah. And especially about girls.
Yeah, and I suppose, Brian, this is a sort of intriguing sort of question in relation to anger management and seeing it on TV. You're a happily married family man to Megan Fox, and you have a happily married family life. But if Megan now turned on anger management and she saw one or the two of the episodes of your children, would you be sort of fearful in relation to that's daddy on screen in relation to the episodes of anger management, or does Megan actually find it funny or able to laugh away at it?
So honestly, James, I would never in a million years let my kids watch the show. Like if it was on, I'd change the channel. But Megan understands that this is it's a job. You know, she knows Charlie. She knows. She gets it. She knows that it's not real. That we're playing characters, and that the show is what it is, and it was just for fun. And you know, she understands the characters and doesn't take it personally. And I wouldn't subject my kids to that show. Nothing against the show, other than I don't think it's friendly.
Yeah. And I suppose, Brian, in relation to, I spoke to Stephen Monroe Taylor about this, and who played Wayne, as you know, in anger management. When the news actually broke, I suppose, that anger management was going to finish up in the 100 episodes, what was your sort of genuine gut feeling? Were you happy at what you achieved and the integrity of the work that you had produced of all those episodes? Or was there a gut feeling that maybe you could have carried on and there was more storylines yet to be told and you could have done maybe another season of 20 or 30 episodes?
Yeah, I don't know if you ever feel really done. It was an amazing accomplishment. I mean, we all knew, especially what Charlie had done in television and how many shows he'd made, you know, between Anger Management and Spin City and 2.5 Men and all that, which was impressive. But so I was happy that we had accomplished so much in such a short period of time, but it was a really good cast and a really good group of people. And so, you know, I think your heart breaks a little bit just realizing like this is over. You know, I've seen I think Noreen once. Yeah. And I've texted with Charlie like 3 times. I haven't seen or, you know, talked to anyone else. And that's sad. I mean, it's what it is. But it's the sad part of what we do, you know, that it's the sad part of if you have an office job, it kind of sucks like doing the 9 to 5, like, you know. Yeah. But at least, you know, you have a little more job security. Yeah. Than this show where for a year and a half you're like gung-ho and you know everyone and, you know, you're this like tight-knit family and you're all kind of in the shit together and then all of a sudden it's done and you're like, you know, all right, see you later. It's very, it's foreign. It's a foreign experience. You can't really prepare yourself for it because you don't know how you'll feel after. You don't know if you'll feel relieved. You don't know if you'll miss it. You have no idea. And it's different every time. When I finished 90210, we've done 10 years. Yeah. And there was a part of me that was like, 10 years done. You know, I woke up and it was like no call sheets and no scripts and no anything coming through. But there was a part of me that was like, it's like graduating from high school. Yeah. You sort of finish school and then you have that moment of realizing, like, what now? Yeah. What do I do now? Who do I talk to now? Like, what's my life now? Yeah.
And I suppose, Brian, has this really put a love back into you in relation to, I know you were in a TV series, Beverly 90201, 90210, that was a bit more serious, and then Anger Management was more comedy genre of a TV show. Has this put a love back to you in relation to pursuing more comedy genre TV shows, or is it a case of whatever project that intrigues you the most, whether it be TV shows, films, or was just Anger Management at the right time for you?
Yeah, no, it 100% is the character. You know, comedy is funny. Some people are really good, like Charlie, Laura Bell, are really good at just delivering a joke. and they have, great timing, and they know setup and punchline and how to make stuff work, whereas I come from drama.
Yeah.
So to me, I approach everything like from the seriousness of just let the situation be funny.
Yeah.
And, just say the words, and people will laugh and they'll get it because they go, people relate to something. They may relate to Charlie or Laura Bell or me, or who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows who they'll relate to? But my approach is sort of just what it is. I loved Sean. I loved the complexity of him. I loved that he was a stripper with a heart of gold. But I just love playing really complex characters.
Yeah.
I don't like the guys that are just right on the surface that you see once and you feel like and you feel like you're comfortable with them and you trust your kids with them and and not that I'm not trustworthy, I just don't want to be perceived that way instantly.
Yeah, and I suppose, Brian, in relation to your character Sean in Anger Management, and I suppose this is the question that people find most tricky when I spoke to all the cast. This is the sort of the question, damn, that's the hard one, sort. But I'll give it to you as well, Brian. In relation to Anger Management,
why would you do that to me, James? Why? I feel like we've gotten along well. Why would you give me a hard question?
It has to be, Sean. It has to be.
All right.
But Brian Austin Green, if you were to describe Sean in relation to a dictionary, and in relation to, there was a term Sean in Anger Management, and there was 2 sentences left underneath in those dictionary, and it was said for Brian Austin Green to summarise Sean in Anger Management, not really an epitaph, not really a funeral epitaph, but 2 lines underneath. What would you like those 2 lines to read?
Boy, this is really hard. You weren't lying. Sexy as hell and confident as hell.
Right. That sums up Sean in a nutshell, anyway. Brian Austin Green, in relation to I suppose we've spoken about Anger Management, but have you ever been to Ireland before, Brian, or is it the one on the bucket list?
I never have. I want to go. I've had no reason to go yet, but I'm sure I will. Whether it's for work or for fun, or I really want to go.
Yeah, Brian Austin.
I know I can't be a part of your. How much do you know about Ireland? Bit now. Sorry.
No problem, Brian, in relation to that. Brian Austin Green, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you on the airwaves tonight in relation to your character Sean in the hit TV American series Anger Management. You have thrilled and entertained us over those 100 episodes that you have starred in. And Brian, we wish you all the best in your future endeavours. Take care, mate.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, James.
Cheers. Take care, Brian.